Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. What's a rootless voicing? So my young students, I ask them to play a chord, say play an A minor chord. They're going to, 100% of them, put an A in that chord. A is the root, but for great voice leading, excellent arrangements that have multiple parts or tracks, sometimes chordal tracks and parts shouldn't have roots. You don't even need fifths. Let's dive in. I know from looking at stats and stuff that people are really enjoying this material and they're coming back and seeing things again and again, but they're not subscribed. Now, subscriptions help YouTube channels, and I know you know this. So throw me a bone. Boink. Thank you. First year at college, I was in the jazz band, and I didn't really know that much about chord voicings. I knew chords and I knew spellings, and I could play the piano pretty well. But I'm playing in the big band, and the band leader was a terrific progressive jazz bass player named Vishnu Wood. And I only worked with him for 1 year. But he pulled me aside and said, "You've got to stop playing church chords." And I was kind of appalled with myself, but I didn't know what he meant. And I'm not sure he exactly knew what he meant. But what he meant was this. There is a big difference between this and this. In the first instance, I'm playing roots in both. I was adding really hardly any extensions to the chords, and my right-hand triads were including the roots and the fifths. In the second instance, I played chords that had extensions and that eliminated non-essential tones. So let's talk about what's essential and what isn't, how to get the juicy bits in. I've got some special treats for those of you who read music coming. I've actually set up a Google folder with my favorite 2-5-1 drills. We won't just talk about 2-5s. We're also interested in how might this work in a songwriter chord progression. All right, let's dive in. So let's review this really quickly. D minor 7. D minor has a root, a third, a fifth, and a seventh. If I play it down here, root, third, fifth, seventh. It also has a ninth and an 11th. All those notes are possible. G7 has a root, a third, a fifth, and a seventh. It also has a ninth and then an 11th, although it's a problematic note. We usually make it a sharp 11th, and a 13th. I'm going to do it lower. That's a lot of notes, and the truth is I really can't play all of them with one hand, and you probably wouldn't want to play all of them at once unless you wanted to create a very thick, modally saturated sonority. So what do I do? Well, it's actually pretty easy. I'm going to throw away notes. The notes I'm going to throw away are the non-essential tones. We've talked about this. In fact, when we were talking about quartal chords last week and this month in general, we said that the third and the seventh are the most important notes in the chord. The third and the seventh. D minor 7, G7, C major 7 can be reduced or boiled down to this fraction of the chord. The third and the seventh and the third and the seventh. And if I put the roots underneath that and do it up on top, it becomes very clear that those pitches create the motion and the sort of propulsion that we're looking for from these traditional chords. Okay, what's my formula for rootless voicings? I want to get the third and the seventh in. I'd like to have some extensions. So here's my first rule. I'm going to construct all of my chords with either the third or the seventh at the bottom of the voicing. I'll show you what I mean with D minor 7, G7, C major 6-9, say. There's my D minor 7. There's the third. I'm going to create a stack of notes And now I've got a D minor 7 that has a ninth on it. This is really fun. I like that a lot. I'm going to use that. Here's my G7. G7 has a 7th. I'm going to take that F and put it at the bottom. I know I need this 3rd. What if we have a 9th? We like that. So far, so good, but that's only 3 notes. Let's add the 13th. That's the E. Now I have 4 notes. And magically, I want to show you something. This was the voicing that I used for D minor 7. The computer says it's F major 7. I'm going to add the D. D minor 9, G13. G13. There's only 1 note different between the 2 voicings. I'm going to play the bass as well this time. I'm only changing 1 note in the voicing, and I've got this very powerful sound. Now, if I continue this concept, my C chord has an E in the bottom, a 5th, a 6th, and a 9th. If I put a C in here, the computer correctly identifies it as C69. This is a rootless voicing of C69. D minor 7, G13, C69. Very beautiful and will sound great in strings, in electric piano. It will sit there underneath a solo line in just the best possible way. I've created a couple of pages of drills. They're great for people who read, for keyboard players. The open voice comping's probably useful for guitarists. Take a look at this 2/5 drill, circle of fifths, A, B, and BA series. Both of these are available in a Google folder that I've linked in the description. You can download the PDFs and work on these, and you should. So an A-B series is when you've got the first chord in the 2/5 beginning with the 3rd on the bottom. And when that's true, the second chord, the 2 chord, in this case G7, has the 7th on the bottom. So F is the 3rd of D minor 7. F is the 7th of G7. Now, because I wanted to create a drill that goes around the circle of fifths, and conveniently G minor 7 is the 2 of F, I go right ahead to G minor 7. Now the F is the 7th. And I've created a 2/5 whose first chord, G minor 7, has a 7th at the bottom. This is a B series. I'm taking these ideas from the Shure book on jazz piano by Mark Levine. Mark's a great teacher and a great writer about music. 2/5, and then 2/5 in F. You follow me? 2/5 in B flat. It goes on and on and on, right? Now, that's a lot to work on. And, I wrote this out for my students. I think this one is from 2007, and I've been handing it out ever since. People use it, and they get a lot out of it. You could use it yourself. Come on over and quickly take a look at this open voice. Now, it makes sense, doesn't it, that instead of having closed voicings, we could have open voicings. Now, I'll show you what I mean on the screen. Because this D minor 7, let's play it, is kind of tightly packed, but it's actually a little bit better if I spread out those notes. This is an open-voiced version of same, and then that's my G7. You can see, again, it's only got 1 note difference, but instead of being all packed up within an octave, it's spread out over, a tenth or so. And that makes it really great for strings. Now, remember we were talking about chords built in fourths, quartal voicings last week, and this is just a classic example of using sort of quartal voicings. In fact, when I go to my C voicing, it's E, A, D, G. It's a stack of perfect fourths. So we've got rootless voicings. Hopefully there's a bass player. In the world that I'm in, if I play the root of the chord a lot on the piano, the bass player is going to walk over and slap me. She's going to be upset. You know what I'm saying? So this is great. How useful is it for, conventional songwriter progressions? Let's just do a test. Okay, here's my conventional songwriter chord progression. G, D, F to C, E minor to B minor. Here's the B minor. And we're going to go to C, 6, 9, G. What's that going to be like if I don't play roots? I was playing roots, and, right? It sounds pretty good that way, but it ain't rootless, right? So let's see if we can come up with a rootless version of same. There's my G chord. The top note is the 9th. That's an A. And then there's the 5th. And then there's the major 3rd in the middle. And down at the bottom, the 6th. So it's a 6-9 G chord. The bass is at the bottom. The next chord in the progression is D. And that A that was on the top is the 5th. And then we have the 9th there in the middle. And then I also included the major 7. There's the major 3rd. And of course, the D is the bass on the bottom. That's all a D chord. Going on, similar things are happening. I'm letting the top line stay fairly consistent and steady. It sort of pulls the voicings together, and I'm not afraid of 6ths, 7ths, and 9ths. I'm just avoiding the root in those top 4 voices. Let's listen to it. G, D, F, C, E minor to B minor, C, 6, 9. Let's just do it again without me talking. Avoiding the root can lead to more complicated chords because you're filling things out with added tones, with the extensions of the chords. Every chord, even simple diatonic chords in songwriter formats, imply extensions. 9ths, 11ths, 6ths, 13ths, even if for dominant chords. And those extensions are exciting to topliners. They're exciting to singers and soloists. It may be slightly outside the ordinary box, singer-songwriter box, but these kinds of arrangements have been present in American popular music, I'm not going to say forever, but certainly since like the 20s and 30s. It's not unusual to find these kinds of extensions in arrangements in the greatest pop songs ever recorded, And so don't be afraid of asking yourself the question, do I really need the root? And the answer is maybe not. Rootless voicings have the same rules about moving around and voicing that rooted voicings do. The 3rd and the 7th is the pivot. You've got to that's our God, the 3rd and the 7th. They tend to move in very specific ways. It's the point of that drill. Download the PDF and get used to seeing what it feels in your hands or what it looks like on the page, and try it out. Try any old progression that you know out with rootless voicings. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos, and I'll see you next time.